friends, welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal Irunate, and today I am going to be working in my Week in the Life journal from 2022. I have already completed the beginning pages through Wednesday, so today we're jumping in and putting together all of my pages for Thursday. I am going to put you on fast forward as I go through the process. If you have watched my previous process videos, everything's going to be pretty similar in terms of construction and how it's being added into the notebook. I'll still talk you through parts of that process, and then I'll also talk to you a little bit about my photo choices this time and the stories that I decided to tell. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's begin by talking about the construction process that I'm going to follow for putting together my pages today. The first page that I just showed you there is the only one that I'm not actually going to adhere anything to it. It was just a mind map that I created with some stamps to represent the different parts of my day. From there, I divided out all of my content and my embellishments by the page that they're going to go in order in my album. Then I'm going to take the larger elements, so the photos that are printed on 6 by 8, they're printed at 6 by 8.5 inches, and I'm going to add all of my embellishments, my flip outs, all of the different components that make the pages extra. I'm going to add those on top of the photos first, and then we will add the pieces into the album itself. This helps me to cut down on the bulk that I have to work on top of as I am constructing the album. It lets everything lay a little bit flatter, and it's just, at the end of the day, it's just an easier way to put all of the pieces together without having the previous embellishments and everything I already have in the album interfering with it. For this photo right here, I chose a photo that had a lot of space at the bottom, a lot of white space on there, which technically isn't white. It's just parts of a photo that aren't necessarily the most important part of the photo, because that's going to be covered up by my gold foil word Thursday, or THU, so the abbreviated Thursday. And then I'm also adding one of the black phrase strips on top of that. I will staple it on top of the transparency. The transparency as I'm using here were originally 10 inches by 8 inches or slightly larger than that, so they would fit in a 10 by 8 album. I just trimmed them down so they are 6 inches wide instead, and then I'm using washi tape to attach those on top of the photo in order to make that flip out. So you can see there the entire part or the entire photo is embellished. Everything is ready to go, and all I have left to do with it is to quite literally stick it into my album. This second photo here, I have a vellum heart that's got a gold abbreviated Thursday on it as well that I stapled on top of the photo with a long arm stapler. I just need that in order to make up all of the distance. This page I'm going to add on another vellum heart. This time it's got a little gold foiling around the outside edge, and I'm layering a tiny phrase sticker on top of that. This card here, this is a 6x4 card with 5 little spots for adding pieces into it, photos, journaling, embellishments, whatever you feel like. I chose to use these cards to document some of the quote-unquote stuff of life. So for instance, on Thursday, I had a new plant arrive in the mail, so I've got a little piece of the marketing materials that came with the plant. I also did a live crafting session on the Allie Edwards Craft the Story Facebook page, so I've got a little bit of my notes for that on here and a piece of a patterned card that I had as a cutoff from the projects I was working on. And then I also had a Stationery Pal Happy Mail box come in, so I took a piece of the marketing for that and put it on that 6x4 card. The fabric patches that I'm using on the final photo here are actually from a previous year's Week in the Life collection. I just had them left over and decided to use them on this year's album since they're still fairly flat, but they also give a little bit more texture than just paper. When I go to assemble my pages for today, the first thing I need to do is add my large plastic phrase onto my journaling page. These pages have become my absolute favorite in this album. For my Thursday, what I decided to do was use the title Home Life to talk about what a regular week looks like. Or if I were to take, say, a Monday, what is a normal Monday look like for our family? A normal Tuesday, a normal Wednesday, a normal Thursday and Friday and weekend. Because as I was documenting my week in the life for this year, it ended up being a very abnormal week where we had family visiting, we had a lot of activities that we were doing. And so this isn't really the best visual representation of what a quote unquote normal week looks like. And ultimately, I don't really believe that we have normal weeks, but I do believe that on average, we can say what a normal Monday might look like. So this was a way for me to add that type of storytelling and that type of detail into my album, even though in general, the week that I'm documenting is anything but normal. So just a fun way to still include the bits of life that when we look back on it will give us a clearer picture of what life really looked like for our family at this time in our lives. Now that I have that page assembled with the large plastic phrase, the reason I do that first is because I actually staple the phrase to the page. So when I add the photo onto the backside of it, I won't have the staple showing through. It'll cover up the backside of the staple. Versus if I had put my photo on there first and then stapled it, the staple would have gone through my photo. So it's just a way for me to ensure that everything is buttoned up, cleaned up, and has a nice finished look to it. For adding these into my album, I'm using double-sided score tape that I purchased from scrapbook.com. The one that I use is a 1/4 of an inch thick. Yes, that's correct. I tend to take off the leftmost edge if I'm working on the left side of the album, or the rightmost edge if I'm working on the right side. I'll stick that down first and then peel up my photo, remove the rest of the backing, and stick the photo down. That lets me make sure that everything is positioned just right so I don't accidentally stick something where it shouldn't go. This is another page that I really loved in this album, and it says, "What I want to remember." I thought as I add these onto my page here, I can read off some of the journaling that I wrote onto these little labels that I then stuck onto each of the photos. So for each day, I picked 5 moments or 5 things about life that happened that day that I want to remember. The first one here is a large picture of my daughter with my husband's grandparents. We went to visit them this day, which was special because they have been living out of state for a while. So they came back to their home here in Michigan to start packing, and it allowed us to go and see them during this week. So I said, I want to remember all of the joy and laughter and love and hugs and story sharing these two have. I want to remember that they are love. The next photo I'm adding on here is a photo that I took of my husband working. He works from home most days of the week in an office on our first floor. So I was standing on some stairs and took this kind of bird's eye view photo of him. I wrote, I want to remember how grateful I am for the days Aaron works from home. So just very simple. I have a picture of myself at our kitchen sink watering some plants. And I wrote, I want to remember how fun it is to be a beginner in learning how to care for plants. The next photo I'm adding on here is actually a picture of a picture, and this is a picture of my husband as a little boy that we found while visiting his grandparents. And I wrote, I want to remember the love I feel looking at all of these older photos. And the final photo I added was a bird's eye view of my kids playing with dominoes. And I wrote, I want to remember how the simplest things can bring us so much joy. So just bringing in some extra feelings, journaling for some of the photos that I'm adding into my album. And it really helps to drive which photos I ended up printing larger. The last photo I'm adding in here is one of me doing the dishes. Actually, that's a lie. This isn't the last one. And I do want to mention that I accidentally did my pages a little backwards. The home life should have been on this blank page here, and then this page should have been the one before it. All of the other days of the week are set up correctly. Just this one, when I wrote my journaling during the week I was documenting, I didn't realize that I accidentally got it on the wrong page, so it doesn't really matter that much. But I did end up picking a photo of myself working on the dishes in our kitchen and put that next to the journaling about home life because it just made logical sense to me. So this last page is going to be a couple extra photos of just everyday life. I have a picture of myself going for a walk/run, and then I have another picture that I will add of getting ready in the bathroom. So for this one, I just wanted the photos to be reminiscent of kind of the smaller moments of the day. I will also add in the little squares that I put together earlier on the 4x6. I realized after I was sticking this down that I needed to get it as close to the edge as possible because it is getting quite a bit thick in this notebook. One of the things I will do to help counter that is to grab out my bone folder and to use that to fold down as much as I can or bend down the right edge that's going into the binding. That'll help everything close a little bit better. Here's the photo of myself in the bathroom, just getting ready, putting on some makeup, and I'm going to pair that with the 3x4 card from this kit that has all of these around the home type of icons. I loved that it had the hairdryer because it just made me think of getting ready in the bathroom, which is exactly what my photo is. So it made logical sense to me that I would put that one on here. I'm still doing the same thing where I'm just peeling off one edge or one side of the backing and then sticking that down before taking off the other ones, except for this card because it's a little stiffer, so it's just easier to pull all the backing off and stick it down all at once. Once I get that down, then our pages for Thursday will be completed. All right, friends, that completes my Thursday pages. I zoomed in here so I can do a final flip through of all of the layouts we worked on today so you can see how this looks when it is all put together. We are officially past the halfway point in this notebook. The middle of the notebook is actually going to be on this page right here, which I did, as I mentioned before, accidentally put a day early or a page early. This page should have been here and this page should have been here. So I just, when I was doing my journaling, I accidentally journaled on the wrong page and then figured whatever, it's just going to be where it's going to be. So one of the other things I might do here is just because this is catching in that middle portion, I think I'm just going to clip off the fronts of these just a little bit so that it closes easier. Let's move those off. And you don't even really miss that part. Yeah, that's a lot better. There we go. So now it closes a little bit easier here. And then this begins the second half of the notebook. This one's a little, I think it's because of this that's pushing it up. That's why it's not laying flat. So that completes my Thursday. Next week, I'm going to be back. We're going to put together my Friday pages. So we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a couple of pages at the very back to still fill in. When the notebook is closed, it does still close without a ton of warping. I do expect that that will probably change because we still have another half of this album to fill up. However, one thing I do want to mention is that even if my notebook ends up being too bulky for it to comfortably close on its own, I do have a pleather cover here. This is part of the One Little Word 2022 release from Ali Edwards. I loved the rainbow of colors. It goes really well with a lot of my previous Week in the Life albums. which are like pink and yellow, and they're brighter colors. They tend to be brighter colors for Week in the Life. So I am going to keep my Week in the Life notebook inside of this folio, which does close with a rubber band. So it will be contained, and then this will go onto my shelf. And when I'm ready to put it in, I will add it onto one of the inside rubber bands. So it will be totally fine, even if this notebook gets really bulky, which I suspect that it probably will. All right, friends, well, that is going to be it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope this inspires you to tell stories of your everyday life, to take pictures, to notice things, and to tell about it. Until next time, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Oh, and I always forget to mention that if you did like this video, I would love a thumbs up down below, and consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. All right, friends, for real this time. Until next time, have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye now.